Thank you for joining us. I'm Michael Miller with Miami's Community Newspapers, and today we're going to be talking about mosquitoes with Michael Moot from Miami-Dade County. Thank you for joining us, Michael.
Hello, Michael. Thank you for having me back.
So we got a lot of mosquitoes right up front. We have a wonderful piece of art.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Did somebody make that?
I have no idea. It was at Mosquito Control when I started in 2017, and I've always had a fondness for it. So
Really?
I thought today I'd just bring it in and showcase it.
Okay,
Yeah.
but the stuff behind you is real.
That's the real
behind
deal.
that is
yes,
real.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes.
So lots of times before we get on that, people think, oh, there's a mosquito season.
No.
No.
Down here in South Florida, unfortunately, mosquito season is all year round. We don't get a break. I mean, it only gets really intense during a certain part of the year, and then it just kind of tapers off. But mosquitoes are a presence here every season. Yeah.
Whenever I go into, we have auricas around the whole house.
Yeah.
Those critters like to hang out there.
Yeah.
So I stay in my lane when we're over there because I know what's about to happen.
That's
about
good.
to jump on us.
You're wearing long sleeves, so that's a very good start. That's good.
Okay. That's what you think.
Yeah.
I want my 10 minutes of sun. All right. So, my heart goes out to all these people that their homes and their lives were disrupted because of that hurricane up there. But let's talk about when hurricanes and tropical storms and heavy rains come to Miami-Dade County. What happens to mosquitoes and to their eggs and to their larvae?
Well, it's interesting. That's a good question. Sometimes it really depends on the wind and the tides to a certain extent. We've had years where the storms will pass through, they'll dump a bunch of water on us, and we won't get an explosion of mosquitoes. And then other years where that'll happen and we will get a ton of mosquitoes. It really depends on if the eggs are washed out. The mosquitoes tend to lay eggs and then they don't hatch right away because a lot of the species, they'll lay the eggs above the water line, knowing that eventually the water will rise and cause a mass emergence. But sometimes the water is just so intense that these populations get washed away before they even have a chance to go.
So how long can an egg last in a dormant position before it hatches?
I've read different accounts, but for the most part, it can be into the years, anywhere from 2 to 5 years.
That's why they've survived millions of years.
That's right.
It's amazing. So
yes.
You tell me these little guys, these little mosquitoes that we swat away, they lay their eggs in a dry area because they're not going to lay it in the water, right?
Right.
And then they anticipate that the water is going to get them wet.
Right. Some of the species, they're floodwater mosquitoes, so they understand that the territory that they're in will eventually get flooded. So they'll lay the eggs in the ground and in a dry patch, and then eventually, Mother Nature works her magic, and the waters come in and the eggs hatch.
What's the lifespan of a mosquito?
It depends on the species and also the gender. Males generally live about 10 to 12 days. Females can live up to 40 days.
That's just the way it is, Michael.
Isn't it? Yeah, Michael.
So a year or so you came back. You came with a clear plastic box that was filled with hundreds, maybe thousands of mosquitoes. And it wasn't quite a bet, but I said, I want to see you put your hand into that box of mosquitoes. And you did.
Michael, you're bloodthirsty. You always want me to come in with the mosquitoes and do a live feeding. I promise I'll do it again.
Okay.
I promise you.
It was so cool. By the way, I show everybody. I go, look at this guy. He's sticking his hand in that box of mosquitoes. And so they land all over you. Your hand almost turned black.
Yeah, it was like a glove.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is that like to have that many mosquitoes on you at one time?
Honestly, it's only bothersome at the beginning, but then you just kind of I get used to it. I don't really feel much when it's happening. I don't know why. Maybe I get used to the pain, or maybe I have a high threshold for pain. But it didn't really feel like much.
And then the rest of us, as soon as we see one mosquito, we swat it with whatever is available.
Right.
All right. So female mosquitoes do what the males don't do besides have babies.
Female mosquitoes are the only ones that bite. So if you've ever been bitten by a mosquito, it's always been a female.
And so these guys just live for a very short period of time. During the time that they're alive, how many eggs, more or less?
It could be hundreds. It could be in the thousands. It really just depends. It depends.
It's amazing. Now, so one of the things we're all concerned with is, how do we try to mitigate some of the biting that mosquitoes can do on us, on humans, and also on our pet animals.
Well, I'm glad you asked that. That's really the biggest reason why I brought this bag of mosquitoes here. And if we can get a close up, the biggest thing you can do to reduce mosquitoes is if you can look, you can see the bags. You'll see that there's some little creatures that are wiggling around in there. Now there's some that have a distinct wiggle. Those are the mosquito larvae, the longer ones. The ones that look like punctuation marks, the commas, those are mosquito pupae. So if you see, first of all, if you have any standing water in your backyard, you should get rid of it. But especially if you see this sort of movement or these sorts of creatures floating around, those are baby mosquitoes. So, excuse me, the best thing you can do to protect yourself from bites is to not let them become a problem in the first place. Source reduction. Eliminate the possibility before it can even happen. Dump out standing water that you find, and that prevents them from breeding and carrying through their life cycle.
So we know if we put food outside our door that the neighborhood cats are going to come over and they're going to eat.
You're going to attract the strays. Right.
The
same principle. If you leave water, any kind of water, as little as a bottle cap, as little as 1 ounce, is enough for a mosquito to breed in. So that's why it's important, especially after a rain event, especially after a tropical storm or, God forbid, a hurricane. That's one of the things that you should be looking out for is the standing water, whether it's left over in tarps, whether it's in pots, planters, discarded items. A lot of people tend to keep their tires, old tires in their backyard. Those are prime mosquito breeding spots because they catch water, and then because they're black and they're rubber, they absorb the heat. So you're giving them basically a hot soup to breed in. So you don't want to do that.
So, and for people that have thick bushes, it's a good opportunity to go and look in between the bushes, see what you threw in there a year or two ago that's collecting water.
Right. And if they're not breeding in bushes, it's good to keep them down because mosquitoes they need somewhere to rest after females have taken a blood meal. They like to go underneath vegetation.
And a blood meal is they find some critter,
right,
and they suck their blood out.
They find you, Michael. They can find you after they take a blood meal. They need a place where they can find shelter and start the process of turning that blood that they took from you, which by the way is not for nourishment. They take it because they want to create eggs from the protein in your blood. So after they've taken the blood meal, they need a little bit of time to turn that protein into their eggs, and then go and lay the eggs and start the whole process all over again.
Okay, so let's say they hatch and you're sitting outside on your patio and you're 78 to 90 degree weather and you're going, all right, the critters are around. What are some ways that we can try to keep them away?
Okay, say you missed the breeding cycle. They were able to hatch and emerge, like some of these that we see up here that are kind of flying around at the top of the bags. The best thing you can do is, and I kind of alluded to before, you're wearing long sleeve clothing. I know that's kind of hard right now in the hot Florida summer heat, but you can buy breathable material that is long sleeved. I would say wear that, or alternatively find a mosquito repellent that has either DEET, picaridin, oil of lemon eucalyptus, or IR3535 as the active ingredient, and apply that judiciously.
So we see a lot of people that work outside and people that are on boats all the time wear those very breathable.
Right. Almost sun shirts,
yes,
what they call them,
and
SPF shirts.
I'm sure that some of them are can get very nice, all right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just the material. And right, so it goes from here to here, and I see these guys out there, and they're like good. But so now I'm looking over here at these nine plastic packages filled with critters. Tell us where they came from.
Well, there are various locations throughout the county. I can see here 33172 that looks like Doral. With 33165 is down south in Kendall. This one here is, I don't see the zip code, but it looks like 199th Street, Northeast 22nd. So that's close to Aventura. Yep. So this is throughout the county.
So were those in canals? Where were those?
No. Mosquitoes tend to not breed in canals because the water is moving. First of all, they like standing water, and also they understand that these bodies of water, they have predators, natural predators. So these were found likely in bromeliads, those water holding plants, or any kind of standing water, like maybe in a bird bath that's not been treated with larvicide, or a fountain, or a tree hole even.
Did people call and say, hey, listen, we got mosquitoes out? Is that why you have them?
For the most part, these, yes, they were that people called 311 or they visited our website or downloaded our app, and they're when you're having a mosquito issue, you can call us. We can send a professional out to check your yard and see if they can find the source of breeding. In this case, these were the sources of breeding here.
And I think the website address is going to be up there, or they could call 311.
Right, the 311 call center, or miamidade.gov/mosquito, which I can see is scrolling down there right now.
So you have these from all over the county. They're marked. And do you know now how many different type of species there are in these? Do you have any idea?
We don't know
conceptually?
Yet because I stopped by the lab on my way to the studio and I borrowed these. But yes, I'll be returning these and we'll be finding out which species is which. And that's a really important
putting
data
aside
point.
the specifics on these, but generally speaking, if you have samples, because you have traps throughout the county as well.
Yes.
You have traps, and then you have your guys that go out and do it.
Right.
More or less, throughout Dade County, how many different types of species are there, more or less?
But there's about 50 different types of species.
50 type.
And there's several invasive types in there. There's mosquito species that have come from Africa and from Asia. And the ones from Africa are particularly dangerous because those are the ones that are the disease spreaders, Aedes aegypti.
All right. So the mosquitoes that we get from the Everglades, are those the same ones that we're going to find over in Coral Gables or in Aventura?
Probably not. The mosquitoes in the Everglades are floodwater mosquitoes. Those are the largely called Anopheles, that family of mosquitoes. Those tend to stay out in the Everglades.
And so are they treated the same way as to try to control it? Same type of pesticide?
For the most part, yes. I mean, the pesticide will definitely affect it, no matter the species. It'll have the same effect.
So when you mentioned you got these from a certain type of plant, all right? So if people have those plants in their yard, they're going to know the bromeliads. It's like a cup of water right there.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so when people have them, and they go, that's where they are, because the mosquitoes are attracted to it because it sits there. It's pretty safe.
They can find the water. They have a special method of detection of finding standing water, but it could be also the storm drains in their neighborhood. You know, that's one of the other points that people don't really think about. But especially when there's been a good amount of rain, this water sometimes it doesn't completely go out into the ocean. Some of it sticks there in the drain itself. Mosquitoes will find that, and they will breed in there.
So down in unincorporated Dade County, down south, where essentially farmland, where the ground is frequently either dry or wet, but certainly if it rains for a couple of days, that ground is sort of wet. Do mosquitoes find that? Do they go into that?
It depends on how long the water sticks around. Generally speaking, they don't breed in puddles because they understand that water isn't going to last. But there are certain areas, especially after rain events, that you have certain puddles that do stick, and those we're on the lookout for. We do send an extra set of crew, an extra crew out to look out for these, and we do have a specialized truck that helps us apply larvicide to these standing water pools.
So if somebody says, listen, I got a lot of mosquitoes in my house, how do you know, sir? Because I'm going to, and I'm smacking them like this. This county might go out and talk to them and look at their yard. Is that correct?
Absolutely. If you log a complaint, a nuisance issue with the county, we'll definitely send somebody out within a business day or two.
That's wonderful. And then they might go through the yard and say, well, you have this old, the kids' pool over here that's there. You have all these plants. You have these old tires in the backyard. And if you get a lot of complaints from an area, then you start to recognize, hey, we have a problem.
Well, if we see a cluster of complaints there, we understand that there's a more serious problem. So in that case, we generally don't send an inspector. What we do is we send a truck spray out because we understand.
You're talking like the pickup trucks with the spray going out the back.
The specialized trucks that are outfitted to spray for adult mosquitoes, because there's two different types. There's a truck that's outfitted with almost like a blower. A turbine.
Yep.
That's called the buffalo turbine. Those are the ones that we send out to target mosquito larvae. But then there's also the truck that has a smaller unit that carries a different chemical, and almost sounds like a lawnmower going by.
And those are the ones that bring us immediate relief.
Right. Those are the ones that knock out all the mosquitoes that are flying around at any given moment.
Does the county still engage a plane?
No. No, we do have a contract we can actually call on someone, an outside company, a third party, to come in and fly the airplane if we need to, but we really haven't had a need for it since 2017.
Because you've been able to control it from the ground.
For the most part, yes, and also we haven't had any problems with localized disease spreading, because that was the thing with Zika, where that mosquito was already here, was already established, but the problem is Zika was being transmitted to people who were not traveling. local transmission. That means if you're here, you don't travel anywhere, you get bit by a mosquito and you get sick from that bite.
So a couple of years ago, was that the disease that was mostly in Woodwood and on the beach?
Yes, Zika.
So when we were listening to those reports, well, so don't go over there because that's where they are. They don't go out of that zip code? I mean, how does that work?
They do, but we were having a problem in those areas. In Wynwood, it happened to be because of it was a large concentration of people. We all know that Wynwood is a night spot, a hot spot. It's now become an international destination. People that travel to Miami know all about the Wynwood Walk and all the art and all the galleries, so they flock there. So it was just a numbers game. It's where the people were at. And in the case of Miami Beach, we had the Botanical Garden had, I think it was tens of thousands of bromeliads that weren't being treated at the time. And that was what caused the explosion there. That's what really led to that mosquito really getting out of control in that area.
If people like the bromeliads, they can go to a big box store or their local hardware store and buy a product.
Right. You can order it online or you can order it at any hardware store. It's they're called mosquito bits, and essentially they look like little granules of cereal. But they're that same larvicide that we use in our turbine trucks, but just in a granule form. So what they do is you can scatter just a few pebbles in each bromeliad tank, and that they dissolve over a slow period, a slow dissolve they call it. So you're good for about 3 or 4 weeks.
But mosquitoes are actually food for certain types of critters.
They are.
What are some critters that like to eat the mosquitoes?
Well, we have a number of different animals that are dependent on mosquitoes. Bats, certain species of birds, dragonflies themselves, and those are on the adult mosquitoes. But then mosquito larvae, you have fish that feed on them. You have dragonfly nymphs. You also have other mosquitoes that eat the mosquito larvae. They're kind of cannibalistic. So there's a number of different animals that depend on mosquitoes.
So it's a balance of all this.
It is.
Because if you got rid of all the mosquitoes, we know there would be a problem.
We would have a huge problem. That's why we're called mosquito control, not mosquito eradication. What we want to do is we want to limit the populations of humans from being exposed to the mosquitoes, but we don't want to eliminate them altogether. That would just be catastrophic.
A couple 6 months ago, when I was talking, I had this swatter, and I was going like this. The former director, Dr.
Dr. Petrie?
Yes, he almost cringed.
Yeah,
it's like you're getting things other than mosquitoes too.
Yeah, you are.
And it was like, oh,
yeah, you're zapping the good bugs too.
Yes,
and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, so us novices have to be reminded there's a good part of that, right? And we see it with the small birds going flying around. I see them chasing the no-sees, but it's a light to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point you bring up. We get that all the time. People that are worried about the sprays and the pesticides that we're applying, if we're harming some of the non-targeted species. And I can tell you for the most part, no, because we're sizing the droplets that carry the pesticides specifically to only affect the mosquitoes. So you have this little droplet happen to land on a moth or a butterfly. These are creatures that are tens of thousands of times, hundreds or thousands of times larger than mosquitoes. So it largely doesn't affect them at all. And the other thing is the time that we're spraying between 2 and 5 a.m., it's mostly the mosquitoes that are out. So the butterflies are underneath vegetation. They're not affected. Bees are inside their hives, so they're protected. So for the most part, we're targeting mosquitoes, and we're only affecting mosquitoes with the spraying that we do.
So Miami-Dade County is a pretty big county. We've got 3+ million people.
2,300 square miles. 900,000
residents down here.
30+ municipalities.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
We got it all, Michael.
We got it all here. So what are some of the biggest problems facing the mosquito control right now?
Well, I think, being a public information officer, for me, it's always the messaging. I feel like, as much as we do with advertising and as many of these programs as we do together, as much social media content that we push out, I feel like the message isn't getting there, and so that tells me that I need to be doing more. We need to be having more of these conversations. We need to be getting out more in the community. We need to be doing more advertising, not less. We need to be doing just more community engagement. And I think we do an adequate job of that. It's just, for some reason, I don't know that the message is getting through. And that's a little troubling to me.
So we know people want to be heard. And I think that's the biggest part. When you call 311, you want to know that somebody is going to help you, or you go to the website. And I've had the occasion frequently to go to solid waste and order some bulky waste pickup. And the website on that was really good, really effective. I know if I have a problem, I can just pretend I don't know what I'm doing and call 311. So tell us about if somebody's not real familiar with websites and they call 311, are they going to be able to be taken care of?
Yeah, and you should be very specific about what you need, and you should say that I'm having a mosquito issue at my home. I would like an inspection. I'd like for you to send a mosquito inspector to my house. That's about as direct as it gets.
Yes.
I think you can. Once you do that, the 311 operators, they're all highly trained. They'll be able to figure out what the issue is. If you tell them you're very plain with them, they will open a service request, and then that service request, for us, must be closed within 5 business days. But usually, due to the volume that it's not very high at the moment, we'll be able to get to you within 1 to 2 business days.
So the caller will also get a case number if they want that, so they can call back and they can check on that.
Right.
Right now, you have to close it within 5, but right now it's a day or two.
A day or two. And if you call in the morning, and if you're able to open up a service request in the morning, we can probably get it assigned. If not that afternoon, then the very next day.
So if somebody goes out, I mean, from the mosquito control, will they have with them these spray or some stuff in case they see things? Hey, I see what you're talking about.
Yes, they will. Each inspector has either a backpack unit or a handheld unit that they'll be able to spray and eliminate all the mosquitoes on your property. And if your neighbors allow us to inspect theirs and we find mosquitoes on their property, we're able to do it there too. Because we're not only checking your house, but we'll ask for permission to check the adjacent houses to each side and the one to the rear to make sure that we're doing an adequate job.
So some people have waterfalls by their pool. Tell us why people should or should not be concerned.
Should not worry, because first of all, if you have a waterfall, that tells me the water is flowing. Mosquitoes, they avoid that. And the other thing is, if your pool water isn't green and swampy, which by the way, it's illegal to do that here in the county. There's an ordinance against not maintaining your pool. You can be written up. You can actually have a lien put on your property if that happens. But if the water is not green, that means the chemicals are treating it, and that means that the mosquitoes won't be able to carry through their life cycle in it. It's like poison. The chlorine knocks them out.
So inquiring minds want to know, why did you choose mosquito control with the county?
It chose me, Michael. I did not choose it. I really had no idea what I was getting into. It was just the end of 2016. I needed a job, so I was on a job hunt. I had my resume out there. I was looking at openings, and I happened to come across one that said public information officer, which I started to read. And I go, public information. I can do that. I'd been in marketing at that point for about 20 years. 18, 20 years. So I knew I could handle it. They were looking for someone who could speak in public, who could write, copy, who could, liaise with the media, who's, a social media manager. And all of that was me. So I figured, hey, this is perfect for me. And then I got to mosquito control. I'm like, well, what is that? What does that have to do? And I had no idea. Really, I honestly had no idea what I was getting into. And then once I started, thankfully, at that point, I had a really good boss, Dr. Petrie, who you mentioned before.
Yes.
This man is an expert. He had been in mosquito control for 35 years at that point, and now I'm blessed to have an equally capable director, Dr. John Pamutebi. He came to us from the CDC, so it's all the learning that I've been able to do from these two gentlemen that have really shaped my understanding. And really, once you get into mosquito control, you find that anyone who's in it becomes somehow passionate about it. And I definitely feel that way.
Good. So you were recently at I know people are going to sort of chuckle, at a mosquito convention.
Yes, I was.
Do I have that right?
Yeah. At the end of February and March, I was in Dallas.
So tell us about that.
Well, that's an organization I'm really proud to be a part of. It's called the American Mosquito Control Association. And it gathers all of the mosquito control professionals, whether you are an inspector, whether you're on the director level, whether you are a pesticide applicator, you're a pesticide manufacturer, if you're a public information officer like myself, we all get together, we talk mosquitoes for 4 or 5 days straight. And the other beauty is that you take in these presentations from all of these professionals from all different parts of the country. That's one of the things I enjoy the most, is getting to see how my peers in other parts of the nation, how they're doing their jobs, what they're using to do their jobs. And a lot of times I come away learning something new I didn't know.
So let's talk about communications with the residents here. There's the taxpayers, people that live here.
My bosses, the taxpayers.
Right. And it wasn't until I started doing the show that I started realizing when Frank Calderon said, our customers. I never looked at it like that. I thought it was a taxpayer or whatever. I just never got that far. So it's this gigantic company called Miami-Dade County, right? We have all these people that want to be taken care of. So what is it that you can do in whether it's social media or advertising or promotions that you can connect a little bit better with the people that so far don't have a connection?
Right. Well, if you email our department, dswm@miamidade.gov, that's dswm@miamidade.gov. If it's a mosquito-related issue, it's going to wind up in my inbox. So I'm sort of pulling away the curtain here. It's me. Hello. So what I can do is, and the largest amount of inquiries we get is people that don't understand how the mosquito control program works. It's usually a complaint, like a cry for help, like, "Oh, please help me! I'm being attacked. I'm being massacred by mosquitoes." So they don't understand that there's a process in place. They don't understand that they can request help from the county, and it's not going to have an additional cost. It's not going to incur an additional cost. We're not like a private pest control company. You're not going to get an invoice. We're not going to try to upsell you. We're not going to try to get you to buy into a contract. We send somebody out. We do the job. That's it. It's done. And if we need to come back out again, we're able to do that. And there is no cost. There is no limit. Like you mentioned, bulky waste. There's a cap to the number of times you can request. There's 2 per household. But for mosquito control, there is no limit to the amount of times we can come out to your home in any given time.
Okay, so let's talk about repellents that people can use at their house. We'll put aside whether it's phony baloney, but we want the stuff that works.
Okay.
So you're sitting there and you go, okay, got too many mosquitoes, I've already done, or we have this party coming in and we're going to be sitting out on our patios, God knows why, but that's beside the point. Is there stuff people can buy? Sometimes the citronella candles, and we see that. So tell me about that.
Not really.
Not really.
I mean, I'm a fan of citronella candles. I like citronella oil. I like the smell. And they do look pretty. I mean, lighting is everything, as you know. Wonderful lighting in the studio. So it really doesn't do much. It doesn't make much of a difference. The oil that's being burnt off will only affect that little area there. It's not going to give you an area-wide concentration. So even if you have 10 55-gallon drums of citronella oil, you light them on fire, you might burn your house down, but you're not, I mean...
But we feel good doing it.
Sure. I don't think it makes marginal difference.
Okay. And then sometimes you go buy these zappers, all right? You put some stuff in it, and every once in a while you zap.
No, we covered it. You're going to zap some of the good bugs, so I wouldn't do that either. That's cruel.
And it is, actually.
Yeah.
And then you have the paddle. The battery,
or the wristbands, right? Those are a thing, right? You put them on, and they have some sort of citronella or some sort of essence. Well, you're gonna get great protection right around your wrists, but the rest of your body,
come on, are you serious?
It's fair game. No, I really,
folks,
that was the thing.
It here first.
That was the thing. The little mosquito wristbands.
All right. So the swatter. No, you're gonna get all sorts of critters.
No, get the spray, or my favorite is there's a brand out there called Bug X, and they sell the little repellent wipes. And these are really effective. It's like a little wet nap. You go to a restaurant, have a nice lobster meal, or whatever. You get your hands greasy.
It on your shirt.
Yeah, chicken wings, right? You wipe the grease off your hand. It's the same concept. It's like a little wet nap, but it's treated with DEET. The active ingredient we know works the best. So you kind of just apply it to your arms. You put it on your face, and not your eyes, folks. You put it around your ears and your neck and all your exposed skin with this little wipe. And you're protected for 6 or 7 hours, and I can swear by them. They're really effective. I never have any issues whenever I use them in public.
Sometimes people are concerned about the products they put on their skin. They think it's going to get absorbed into their body and they're going to get sick. That's not the case with us, though.
No, because it's the dosage is low. The percentage, and also it's been tested. Unless you have a really extremely sensitive skin, it's not going to have an effect on you.
All right. So here we are. Tomorrow's October 1st, 2024, in case you want to look back in a
time and date it, in case my grandchildren ever find this video in the future. Hello, I love you.
So right now, the mosquitoes are out there. Christmas is coming up pretty soon, right? Then it starts raining a lot, right?
Right.
It's been raining a bunch now, but it's going to be raining for a while, and then it's going to stop. And then the heavy part of the year is when it gets really hot, like it is now. Right.
But usually between April and May, that's when we'll get that first really big soaking, and that's like the first eruption of mosquitoes. But generally speaking, we call it peak mosquito season. It's generally between May and October, because those are the wettest parts of the year, the wettest months of the year.
And tell us a couple diseases that people could get if they were bitten by a certain type of mosquito?
Well, I really don't like to go into diseases as much because, you know, we kind of we leave that to the experts, the Florida Department of Health. But you really should be concerned about the mosquito called Aedes aegypti, the invasive mosquito, because they can spread dengue. It's the same mosquito that was behind Zika. And there's something else, a really nasty disease called chikungunya, which also is spread by the same.
And you learned all this since 2016. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you very much. Actually, we have some.
Thank you
really,
very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. We have some really informative pieces that we put out that has all this information. We give them out whenever we're out at events. We have a coloring book for children that has this sort of information in it. But we're always sure to send some information home to the parents.
And I think that in this marketing plan, which is get the conversation going.
Right.
And that's the big key. How do you have it? Just sometimes it's enough for the kid to be able to go home and do it. When my kids were in school, they said, "Daddy, you know, if you hit me, I can call the police."
Right.
Good for you.
Right. Well, if there's one thing our former mayor did well did us a favor, was give us that little catchphrase, "Fight the bite." He was Mayor Jimenez was very, very fond of saying "fight the bite."
Yes.
I guess he coined it at a press conference, but you know that's a good you know, catchy, rhymey sort of starter conversation. You know, fight the bite. We also like to say you know, our campaign is really focused around two words: drain and cover. Drain standing water that can be on your property and can lead to mosquito breeding, and cover your skin. Cover any exposed skin with either long sleeve clothing, you know, a cap, socks, you know, or you got to make sure it's loose fit clothing, because yoga pants, Michael, while they may be comfortable and stylish, they don't do much to protect you from mosquitoes, because they're tight fitting. The mosquito proboscis, which is the little needle that they use, it's not technically a bite; it's more like a drawing of blood. You know, when you go to...
You carefully avoid saying needle.
Right. It's more like a needle extraction. They can penetrate through tight-fitting clothing. So loose-fitting clothing, just like this.
Yes.
Shirts. Perfect. And of course, you know, we've talked ad nauseum about repellents. You know, and I got to mention, if you do have the sensitive skin type, there is something called oil of lemon eucalyptus that is very much softer. You know, it's a soft option for mosquito repellent, but it does work. The only thing is, because it's not as concentrated, you have to reapply more often.
Okay. It's wonderful. We're going to
drain and cover and fight the bite.
So it's wonderful. Michael Mood, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Michael.
It. Come back anytime. Say hi to your gang up there. We're going to look right in the red camera and say, thanks for joining us, folks. Have a good day. And remember, take care of yourselves and your family.
Take care of each other.